Are there any questions? We're a little bit past, I think.
Can you please come to the front? Can you please come to the front so that people in Zoom can also hear the question? Sorry, say it again. Can you please come to the front so that people in Zoom can also hear the question?
Okay, so thanks. It's great actually that you work on this problem and invite the whole community to do so. So I'm seeing these graphs as probably maybe not the most abstract, but definitely a very abstract representation of the scene. Doesn't contain, for instance, any geometric information about objects. But then there are very low-level representations, just like the ones you used, like point clouds. Now, there are also representations that are in between, probably, right? For instance, an oriented bounding box or maybe a convex object, whatever. So I was wondering if you thought about the hierarchy of representation, because here I see that you nicely use the point cloud and the scene graph together. Can you use as also all the representations that are in between in the same context? And I don't know, does it even make sense? Whoever.
Maybe I can take this. Thanks for this interesting question. It's actually nice to see that graphs and scene graphs, they have enough flexibility to actually deal with also the level of the level of abstractness that we require for the representation of our scene. There's actually a few works, and this is also something interesting for us in terms of future work, that already started exploring, for example, adding geometrical properties to a scene graph. So instead of just predicting or, let's say, storing information such as, for example, similarity or semantic affinity between shape, they also store the sixth pose of the objects and their relationship. One nice thing is that you can also apply, for example, specific geometric constraints. In indoor scenes, very often, for example, for the application that we've seen before, it's very important to assume, I don't know, a Manhattan world where you have walls that are orthogonal to each other and to the floor. And this is typically done by imposing geometric constraints directly on, for example, the coefficients of the planes that represent these walls. With the scene graphs, we can now do it directly into the graphs. And it's a little bit up to us to decide, first of all, where we want to position ourselves in terms of at a very abstract stage or more in between geometry and semantics, or also to decide what's the important characteristic that we want to make use of in terms of our nodes and relationships. For example, if we want to describe the geometric parts, as we said before, we want to look into poses, we want to look into this type of Manhattan relationships. If instead we want to make use of our scene and understand how I don't know, autonomous agent or even people will make use of this scene, then we will, for example, relate nodes to affordances or relate nodes to action that I can actually apply on our objects. And by the way, this is all, let's say, yet to be explored. So everybody that's interested in these aspects, let's say, you're welcome, let's say, to start looking into this and start participating to this discussion with the interested parties in the community, because it's still all to be written, let's say.
Are there any more questions? Yes. One more question?
First of all, thanks for the talk. So actually, I want to ask is this, so there's another type of scene graphs more care about this hierarchy structure in the building, like a room level and building level. And this scene graph is more care about a relationship between objects. So I'm quite curious, like whether when these two types of scene graph will meet one day in the future. So I'm just curious, what was your thought about this will happen in future or not?
Thank you for the question. Well, I believe that it's gonna happen very soon because you need this kind of abstract, like room level layout to basically understand where I'm locating. But you also need to have the understanding of how is my scene that I'm currently in. So also need this more like a scene as a graph as we described it, in order to do like stuff like navigation within the scene, other approaches.